Good day, everyone. I'm Raisa Jane G. Kaliwag, together with my group mates, Carlin Lazaro, Regine Eva, Karil Danga, and Alexis Escalona. And we are the Group 5. Now we will discuss about our topic for today, which is the Lesson 3 and Lesson 4. In Lesson 3, it's entitled Choosing on Grade and Culturally Relevant Instructional Materials. And for the Lesson 4, it's about developing on grade and culturally relevant instructional material. And now to start our discussion, here's Mr. Alexis Escalona.
Next slide po. So objectives. At the end of the lesson, student expected to identify the different sources of instructional materials for mother tongue instructions, evaluate instructional materials for mother tongue instructions, vice learning goal, distinctive features and grade level, appropriationist, and choose on grade and culturally relevant materials in teaching mother tongue as learning area. So first, activate. Where do you get the instructional materials in the teaching mother tongue? Definitely, you have ideas where these materials came from. The challenge to you in this activity is to list down as many sources of instructional materials in the mother tongue as you can. You have only 1 minute to write as many as possible. An example has been provided. So, an example po nito is ay kanta na kung saan pwede natin i-example sa mga bata. Compare your list to a seatmate. Any similarities? Differences? Do you agree or disagree with your seatmates list? Prepare to share your answer to class. So dito po, pwede natin sabihin sa mga students natin na pwede silang mag-compare or mag-list ng mga pwedeng pwedeng sabihin or pwedeng gawin para mapag-compare yung mga ideas nila about mother tongues. So next po. Analyze. Below are 3 examples of instructional materials that may be used in teaching mother tongue with a partner. Discuss the material using a question that follows. Prepare your answer in the class. So dito po, meron parang isang kwento na kung saan ito po yung first instructional materials. So ito po yung mga tanong. What do you think is the learning goal of the instructional materials? Number 2, characterize the materials. What is its purpose? What are its distinctive features? What format was used? Was it about? What grade level do you think these materials can be used? So ito pong mga tanong na to is parang dinidetermine po dito na kung ano po ba yung mga purposes ng mga instructional materials na to. So puntahan po natin yung mga instructional materials. Next po. First instructional materials. So ito po yung second. Panuto. Pagsunod-sunurin ang mga pangyayari sa kwento, lagyan ng bilang 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sa nakalaang patlang. So dito naman po, kanina nga po merong unang instructional materials na kung saan pwede nating gawin, pwede natin tong ipadala sa mga bata natin. So katulad po ng activities na to, pinagsunod-sunod po nila kung ano po yung pangyayari. What do you think is the learning goal of the instructional materials? So ano po ba talaga yung goal ng instructional materials number 1 kanina. And ito po yung number 2. And characterize the materials. What is its purpose? What are its distinctive features? What format we use? Was it about? What grade level do you think these materials can be used? So dito naman po, kung ano po ba talaga yung mga grade level na pwedeng pagsakupan ng instructional materials na to. So ito po is ma-apply sa mga elementary, grade 5 hanggang grade 6, pwede rin pong grade 4. So yan, maganda po yung instructional materials na to para po mas maintindihan ng mga bata kung ano yung mga binibigay natin sa kanila. Next po. Instructional materials number 3. You will listen to a popular song in your mother tongue. Enjoy listening. So dito naman po pwede nating example is yung Lupang Hinirang, kung saan pwede naman po nating gawin tong popular dahil ito nga po yung popular song. So ito po yung first question. What do you think is the learning goal of the instructional materials? So characterize the material. What is it, the purpose? What are the distinctive features? What format we use? Was it about? What grade level do you think these materials can be used? So sinabi po sa tatlong instructional materials, remind po tayo kung ano po talaga yung purpose ng bawat isang instructional materials. So yun lamang po yung part ko. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Mr. Alexis. And good day, everyone. I am Regine Eva, and I will here to continue the discussion of Mr. Alexis na nakapaloob sa Lesson 3. Now, it is abstract. Sa pagpili ng instructional materials na ating gagamitin sa pagtuturo, kailangan nating tandaan ang mga kriteria nito. Kinakailangan ito ay pasok o nababagay sa grade level ng mga learners, and we must ensure na our learners or student can relate to the material that we made. Below is a summary grade developed by Malone 2000 that shows the common characteristic of graded reading materials. Your task this time is to identify the stage of reading that the statement refers to. We have 4 choices. The first one is reading for new readers. The second one is reading for learners who are gaining fluency. The third one is reading for learners who want to read in another language that they understand and speak. And the last one is reading for learners who have become lifelong readers and learners. So now I will answer these activities since we are in recorded. So number 1, the purpose of this stage is for readers to simply realize that written text have meaning. So in my own answer, siguro po it refers in reading for learners who have become lifelong readers and learners. As for number 2, it talks about people, places, and activities that are familiar to the readers. Ang sagot ko po dito ay reading for learners who have become lifelong readers and learners. Pwede po tayong magkaiba-iba na sagot, depende po sa pagkakaintindi po natin. Number 3, sentences are short, easy to read, and uses vocabulary that the readers know and use. The answer here is reading for new readers. Number 4, this stage make use of small reading book. And my answer also here is reading for new readers. Number 5, the purpose is help readers gain confidence in using print literature for learning and enjoyment. As well, my answer here is reading for new readers. As for number 6, it is written in a language that the readers and understand and have learned to read. And my answer for this number is reading for learners who want to read in another language that they understand and speak. As for number 7, this stage provides information about vocabulary and grammar of the languages they read the readers have learned so they can use the languages for higher level of thinking and learning. So my answer in number 7 is reading for learners who gains fluency. And for the last number, these stages provide readers with information and ideas that are relevant to their life and affirm their heritage, language, and culture, and help them learn about the world outside of the community. As well, my answer in number 8 is reading for learners who gains fluency. Next slide po. Now, let's proceed for our final task, which is the mini database. Mini database. As we can see, we need to find a reading materials in our mother tongue. I will give an example for this. After that, kayo naman yung magbibigay ng iba pang examples. For your final task, the class must create a mini database of instructional reading materials in teaching mother tongue. Find at least 2 reading materials in your mother tongue, then analyze the materials by completing the matrix below. So I will give an example. For example, ang Munting Prinsipe or The Little Prince, yun yung story. Kung familiar kayo sa kwento na yun. The learning goal in the story is to enhance the student reading comprehension skill in Filipino, develop their vocabulary, and promote an understanding of moral and philosophical themes presented in the story. Next is for the features. The features of this story is illustrated images to aid comprehension and engagement, as well discussion question at the end of each chapter to encourage critical thinking and reflection. For the format, we could use a paperback book or digital ebook. As for the content of this story, the story follows the journey of a young prince who travels from planet to planet, meeting various life lessons along the way. It explores themes of love, friendship, loneliness, and the nature of human existence. As for its grade level, it is more suitable for upper elementary, like for grade 5 and grade 6. And now, it's your turn. Provide a reading materials and answer the table provided. For the next is lesson synthesis. How important are on-grade and culturally relevant materials in the teaching of mother tongue? For me, it is essential since it ensures that the content aligns with the student proficiency level, making it neither too easy nor too difficult. This helps engagement and comprehension. In incorporating culturally relevant content, it strengthens the student to connect the language by making it more relevant to their daily lives, tradition, and experiences. Let me recall past learning experiences of mine where I encountered an instructional material that I felt it was too easy. When I was in elementary grade, I think it was in grade 1, my classroom back then was that of learning materials, especially book. I find myself engaged more in understanding the picture on the book that I had, and rather than reading its context or its story, mas parang nagpo-focus pa ako sa picture. Alam niyo po yun, yung parang sa pagtingin pa lang natin sa picture o sa pagkakasunod ng picture, parang malalaman natin yung kwento ng librong hawak natin. And how did it affect your learning experiences? For me, it affected my learning experiences by not always focusing on images, but to explore more as well the story and the details of the book that I had. And yun lamang po ang aking part. May I call Ms. Raisa Jane Caliwag to continue our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Regine Eva. Next po. So now let's proceed to lesson 4, developing on-grade and culturally relevant instructional materials. Next, please. So learning activities. As a teacher of mother tongue, you can develop your own literature in various ways. The first one is L1 speakers can create their own stories. L1 means first language. So, di ba, tayong mga speakers na nakakagawa tayo ng mga own stories natin kapag first language yung gamit natin. Dahil mas napapadali tayo na mag-create ng mga stories kapag ito yung gamit natin. So, kapag ang first language natin is Tagalog, mas gugustuhin natin na mag-create ng mga stories natin na gamit yung Tagalog na language natin. And if it is English naman, so mas okay din na gagamitin natin is English na language. And then the second one, they can put their traditional oral literature into written form. The oral traditions and expressions domain encompasses an enormous variety of spoken, including proverbs, riddles, tales, nursery rhymes, legends, prayers, chants, songs, and dramatic performances. So oral traditions and expressions are used to pass on knowledge, cultural and social values, and collective memory. They play a crucial part in keeping cultures alive. Then, they can translate materials from one language to another. So, dito pumapasok si translator. Translator is a professional who converts written or spoken material from one language to another while preserving the original meaning, format, and tone. They research industry-specific terminology, use specialized dictionaries and translation tools, and proofread their work for accuracy. They ensure that the translated content accurately conveys the original meaning and tone. Translators also proofread and edit their work, collaborate with team members and clients, and stay updated on new translation tools and practices. Then fourth, they can community so that it is relevant and interesting to local readers. So like providing libraries, bookshops, and learners can make their own stories as they can gain fluency in reading and writing. So syempre, out students will make their own stories when they are fluency on how to read and write na kung saan may mabubukas na yung mabubukas na yung mga isipan nila na sila naman ang magbabahagi ng iba't ibang stories. Minsan hindi natin napapansin na habang tumatagal ay mas nagiging mahusay sila sa paggawa ng mga stories na kung minsan ay nasasali pa sila sa mga competitions. Then, for starters, think of a story, poem, or any literature that you can remember that your parents or grandparents have told you. It can also be any story or song that you have heard while you were growing up. Share it to the class using the language of your mother tongue. So, for example, merong nabanggit sa'yo or nakwento sa'yo yung mga parents or grandparents mo na about sa isang stories, ganyan. So, pagkagamit natin yan para i-share natin sa ibang tao or sa mga kapwa natin mag-aaral yung patungkol sa stories. Then, syempre, with the use of our language. Next. Analyze. Bring out the short story written in the mother tongue that was asked from you by your teacher as an assignment. With a partner, answer the following questions. So, for example, you are asked by your teacher to have a short story. Then, we will now answer the following questions. So, the first question is, who will read this story and what topics do you think will interest them? So, kailangan na alam natin kung sino ba yung, para kanino yung story natin na ginawa at anong topics yung mga magiging interest sa mga mambabasa natin. And then, why do you think this story was written? So, para saan ba yung story natin na yon or kung ano man yung story na nakuha natin? And what was the goal of the writer for the readers? Kung ano nga ba yung naisipahiwatig ni writer dun sa story niya para dun sa mga reader. Then, who and what is the story about? So, para kanino or saan nga ba tungkol yung story? then, where and when did the story begin? So, kailan ito na-publish, sunod, or kailan ito naman story na yun. And then, Balon or provides you with the basic guidelines that you need to remember when writing your own stories. So, the first one is make sure to keep your stories short and easy to read. So, syempre, kailangan na yung stories natin ay mas okay na maikli lang siya pero nandun malaman yung content niya. So, kahit na maikli lang, at least naintindihan naman ng mga mababasa natin at mas nagkakaroon sila ng mas naging interesado sila kapag maikli lang yung stories natin pero alam natin na mas maintindihan naman nila yon. And then use natural, familiar language of your readers when composing your story. So, for example, gumawa ka ng stories, then yung language na ginamit mo is dapat na naayon sa mga mababasa mo. Like, yung mga mababasa mo is mga Tagalog naman yung language. So, mas okay na gawin mo na yung stories mo is Tagalog language din para mas maintindihan nila yung flow ng story mo. And then write about people, places, activities, and experiences that are familiar and relatable to your readers. So, kailangan na once na gumawa tayo ng stories is hindi lang na basta-basta kwento lang na minsan walang saysay. So, kailangan na mag-include tayo na yung mga napapanahon na issue or situation. Ganyan. So, kailangan na ilagyan natin ng mga people, places, activities, and mga experiences. And then create stories that can be pictured or illustrated to help your new readers understand the text better. So, di ba kadalasan naman na once na may pinabasa tayong mga storybooks, ganyan, kadalasan may mga naka-attach na mga picture na kung saan dito nakabase yung flow ng isang story. So, napaka-importante din na kapag gagawa tayo ng stories is naka-include yung mga pictures para nun mas masubaybayan ng mga readers natin. Mas magkakaroon sila ng mas magiging interesado sila na basahin yun kasi nakikita, parang na-i-imagine nila yung actual na sitwasyon na base dun sa story. And then, write for a specific person who you think represents the people. So, who will read your story? So, kailangan na may specific person tayo. Halimbawa, kapag yung gumawa ng stories, tapos isipin natin kung yung stories na to is para sa mga bata or sa mga nakatatanda. Hindi yung basta-basta gagawa tayo ng stories na pang matanda, tapos ipapabasa natin sa mga bata. So, kailangan meron tayong mga specific person kung para kanina nagre-represent yung stories natin. And then, always remember that when creating your stories, first is knowing your audience when writing. So, it is important for several reasons. So, the first one is clarity and relevance. So, understanding your audience allows you to tailor your writing to their level of understanding, interest, and needs. This helps ensure that your message is clear, relevant, and engaging to the people you are trying to reach. Then, effective communication. By knowing your audience, you can use language, examples, and references that resonate with them, making the communication more effective. Then, building connection. Writing with your audience is in mind helps you connect with them on a deeper level. It shows that you understand and respect their perspective, which can foster trust and rapport. And always know the purpose of your story. So you need to know what is the purpose of your story. It may write to inform, persuade, entertain, or make an argument. Identifying your purpose helps readers engage with the content more effectively and interpret it in the way the author intended. And that's all for my part. Here's Ms. Karil Danga to continue our discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Raisa. Okay, the next one is the abstract and applied. The next set of activities in this lesson were modified from SIL's Trainer's Guide, Literature Development Workshop. The task will require you to develop your own Level 1 story and edit and translate it into another mother tongue language, then illustrate your own story. With a partner, think of a story that would want to write about. It should be an original story or story that has been orally told in your community. Before you start brainstorming on your story, please note of the characteristics of a Level 1 story. A story for children who are learning to read in their L1 or in a new language. These characteristics were enumerated in the previous activity. So now, let's discuss the story arc when we are doing a story. So the number one is describe what the character wants and what problem getting in the way. So in this part, you need to begin by introducing the main character and their primary goal or desire. This could be something they've always dreamed of, a person ambition, or a problem they need to solve. And next, we need to establish what obstacles stand in the way of achieving this goal. These obstacles could be external challenges, internal conflicts, or a combination of both. They should create tensions and drive the narrative forward. So, for example, let's say your main character, Sarah, wants to start her own bakery, but she lacks the funds and support to do so. Her family disapproves of her career choice, and she struggles to secure a loan from the bank due to her lack of experience and collateral. So the next is describe how the problem gets worse. So in this part, as the story progresses, the obstacles facing the main character should intensify, making it even more difficult for them to achieve their goal. This could involve setbacks, conflicts, or new challenges that arise along the way. The stakes should feel higher, and the character's journey should become increasingly fraught with conflict. Using the example of Sarah, perhaps she faces competitions from a rival bakery opening up across the street. So her oven breaks down just before a big order, and she receives an eviction notice from her landlord due to unfeigned rent. So the next one is describe the climax. This is the most exciting moment of the story. It's when the problem is at its worst. So the climax is the pivotal moment in the story where the main character confronts the biggest obstacle or challenge head on. This is the most exciting and dramatic part of the narrative, where tensions reach their peak and the outcome hangs in the balance. So in our example, Sarah's climax might occur when she's on the verge of losing everything. But she decides to enter a baking competition with a cash prize that could save her bakery. So the competition is fierce, and Sarah faces unexpected hardness, but she ultimately triumphs in the end. So next is describe how the problem starts to get solved. In this stage, follows the climax and is characterized by the main character facing the full consequences of their actions and circumstances. The problem reaches its peak's intensity, and the main character may feel overwhelmed or hopeless as they struggle to overcome the final obstacles standing in their way. For Sarah, this could mean dealing with the aftermath of the baking competition, where she's faced with new challenges such as fulfilling a sudden influx of orders while still trying to keep her bakery afloat amidst mounting debts and personal sacrifices. So, number 5, describe how the problem starts to get, ayun na, okay. And then finally, the story begins to rough as the main character takes action to resolve the conflict and achieve their goal. This could involve the main character learning from their experiences, also making difficult decisions or receiving help from unexpected resources. So in Sarah's case, perhaps she receives a small business grant from a local charity. Her family finally comes around to supporting her dream, and she forms partnerships with local businesses to boost her bakery success. So, by following this story arc, you can create a compelling narrative that engage readers and keep them invested in the protagonist's journey from start to finish. So, now now that you are done with your story arc, your next task is to transform your story into a level 1 story. It is suggested that a level 1 story should not be longer than 8 sentences. So we need to make sure that each sentences could be illustrated. So yon. In this part, we need to write our story in 8 sentences. So in doing a sentences story, we just need a detailed and informative knowledge. So after that, you need to edit your own or other group level 1 story. So we have to make sure that your story's content is sound, interesting, and also well organized. Also, it is important that your language use is correct and also understandable to the new readers. Also, important is your spelling and punctuation is flawless. So after that, you need to exchange your 8 sentences story with another group using the checklist below. So do you see the criteria? So in checking the sentence story, we need to check if the content is informative and also detailed. We need to check if the readers will understand the story. Next, check if the language is clear and if there are any mistakes in the way of the sentence are written. And after that, after your checking, discuss briefly your group's feedback to the story writers. And once you have received the feedback, edit your story if there are any mistakes. And that's all my part po. Thank you. May I call Miss Carlene to continue our discussion.
Next, please. Thank you. In my part, letter C, translating your level 1 story. But before that, I would like to discuss first what this abstraction is. Abstraction is the phase of the lesson fixing the concept ought to be learned by the students in a particular lesson. This phase facilitates the formation of general ideas or concepts from concrete examples or the activities performed by the students. Dito nga po sa abstraction, ito na po yung part which kung saan ang guro or yung teacher may kailangan mag-present ng new lessons or introduce new informations to the learners. Diba sa activity or activate, doon nakikita yung concrete ideas ng mga bata sa pagbibigay natin ng activity para makita natin kung ano yung para sa mga bata, kung ano yung lessons na dapat na maintindihan ng bata. Halimbawa, nagpakita tayo ng isang instructional materials. Tapos, hihingi na tayo ng idea sa mga bata o mga bata, anong nakikita nyo dito? So doon, magkakaroon tayo ng complete na ideas from the learners itself. Then sa analyze naman, doon natin marirealize as a teacher kung ano yung naintindihan ng mga bata doon sa instructional materials na present natin. So, dito naman sa abstraction, ito po yung part kung kailangan ng teacher na mag-discuss, mag-present ng bagong information sa mga bata, which is connected doon sa first activity na ginawa natin. Kasi sa first activity or activate ay yun po yung concrete ideas. Dito po sa abstract, ito na po yung ano yung natututo ng bata dahil kailangan na natin mag-present ng discussion ng new information. After the discussion, kailangan natin mag-conduct ng isang activity para i-check kung ano yung natutunan ng mga bata. Then the last one is the application, kung saan natin makikita kung ano yung natutunan nila sa lessons na diniscuss natin. Paano natin gagawin yon? Kailangan natin magbigay ng mga activities na sila mismo kaya nilang mag-construct or mag-discuss ng lessons na tinuro natin. Okay? Letter C, translating your level 1 story. Another important task that you will be required to do as a teacher of mother tongue is to translate stories into your class mother tongue. As an exercise, translate your own story into another language. Yun nga po, kung tayo ay nagka-create ng isang story, halimbawa using an English language or a Filipino language, trabaho po natin as a mother tongue teacher na i-translate siya kung ano yung mother tongue na ginagamit. Halimbawa, nasa isang lugar tayo ng Pampanga. So as a mother tongue teacher, obligado tayo na i-translate natin yung story sa Kapampangan para majority of the learners maintindihan kung ano yung story na yun. Although ang mga learners natin ay nakakaintindi ng Tagalog or English, pero since we are a mother tongue teacher, kailangan natin siyang i-translate into Kapampangan para mas naiintindihan ng bata at magkakaroon sila ng connection at nakaka-relate sila sa kwento. In translating, you always need to remember that a good translation is all about translating meaning, not words. Ito, kung magta-translate daw po tayo, dapat maintindihan daw natin na mas maganda i-translate yung whole meaning, hindi word by word. Kasi minsan, kung word by word ang gagamitin natin, hindi natin maintindihan, parang barok. Unlike kung ang whole meaning itself nung, halimbawa, isang sentence, kung ano yung ibig sabihin nun, yun ang i-translate natin ito Kapampangan para maintindihan ng mga bata. The translation must be clear that allows readers to understand the translation. Ito nga po, dapat daw malinaw yung translation natin, walang pasikot-sikot para yung mga bata daw ay naaintindihan yung translation ng English or Tagalog into Kapampangan. Pangalawa, accurate in which the translation communicate the same ideas of the original author. So sa pagta-translate, hindi lang basta i-translate mo siya ng English to Kapampangan, kundi kukunin mo yung kung ano yung punto nung nagsusulat nung halimbawa ikaw nagsulat, kukunin mo yung punto kung ano yung gusto mong ipahiwatig doon sa learners. Kaya dapat malinaw at saka accurate yung translation natin mula English or Filipino to Kapampangan. Number 3, natural because it is written using a language that is familiar to the readers. So, ibig sabihin, kung mag-translate tayo ng isang story mula English to Kapampangan or Tagalog to Kapampangan, dapat natural lang daw. Ibig sabihin, wala nang palabot-palabot kasi ito ay para ma-familiarize agad ng mga learners. Ask yourself, is the meaning in the translated text as the same as in the original text? O ito, tinatanong na, unang tanong, kung ang meaning daw po ng original ng text ay the same doon sa translation mo. So, kailangan mo i-assist yung gawa mo or i-check yung gawa mo. Teka, tama ba itong punto na ginawa ko nung na-translate ko na? Kasi baka na-translate ko nga siya ito Kapampangan, pero parang sumaliwa yung punto nung gawa ko. So, ibig sabihin, dapat mag-match kung ano yung sa original na punto or yung concept na gusto ipahiwatig sa story, dapat ganun din daw po yung magiging punto or concept na sa translation ng text. Pangalawa, are all the sub-points from the original text included? Yung mga maliliit na detalye daw po na kasama po pa sa pag-translation. Or number 3 is the language clear and natural. O same with the introduction, kailangan daw tanungin natin sarili natin kung yung ginamit nating mga salita ay malinaw at natural lang para maging familiar sa mga bata. Next please. And letter D, putting the story into a book form. So kanina, na-translate na natin ito mother tongue, which is ito example, Kapampangan. Dito naman po ay gagawa tayo ng story into a book form. Yung story, ilalagay natin ng paaklat. According to Malone, 2013, provides simple guidelines on how you should create your illustration. Letter A, illustration should show only what is happening in the next. Ito, kailangan daw yung illustration natin sa paggawa natin ng book, story into a book form, dapat daw po ay pinapakita natin kung ano daw yung mangyayari sa susunod. Pangalawa, illustration should be about people, places, and objects that are familiar to the readers. Dapat ang illustration na gagawin natin, yung mga bagay-bagay or nakapalibot sa atin na familiar sa mga magbabasa. Bakit? Mawawala ng gana yung mga learners natin pag hindi nila alam kung ano yung mga nakikita nila. Pero pag nakita nila, familiar sila, halimbawa, puno, bahay, bola, kung ano-ano pa. Since alam nila yun, magkakaroon sila ng gana or mamomotivate sila magbasa kasi alam nila yung mga bagay na nakikita nila sa illustrations. Pangatlo, people and objects should usually be complete figures. For example, if the picture is a person, it should include all parts of the body. O ito sa letter C daw, dapat buo na makikita daw yung isang figure. Halimbawa daw kung tao, dapat buong katawan daw ng tao makikita. Hindi lang ulo, hindi lang kamay, hindi lang katawan, hindi lang paa, kundi buong katawan daw po ang makikita sa illustration ng tao. Next po is illustration should fill most of the space that is provided. The line should be simple, no unnecessary shading or details. Ito, sa paggawa ng illustration, dapat daw ma-maximize natin yung isang space, hindi yun nasa isang side lang siya ng upper part or sa left part, kundi ando siya sa gitna at nasakop niya yung buong space ng isang page at wala na kailangan daw na hindi na kailangan maglagay pa ng unnecessary na mga detalye. Kasi ito nga, magiging simple lang siya at para maging familiar agad yung mga learners natin. Ito naman po ang criteria for grading the storybook. Sa story quality, 20 points. Clarity and appropriateness of language, 15 points. Creativity, 15 points. And adherence to instruction is 5 points. Total of 55 points. Next. Okay. Thank you po. At dito po magtatapos ang aming report. Thank you po, ma'am.